Jersey sales. Clark now has an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike that will include her own signature shoe. The deal is the richest sponsorship contract for a women's basketball player.
As to why Caitlyn Clark is not getting the praise, the commercials, the ads, the merch, like all of the things that she should have gotten during this rookie season. Nike hasn't produced one ad or commercial featuring Clark since she turned pro, and despite a signature shoe being part of Nike's agreement with Clark, it may not be released until 2026, according to sports business reporter Ethan Strauss.
Did Nike really mess up one of the biggest deals in women's sports? Today we're talking about the heated drama between Nike and Adidas over basketball's rising star, Caitlyn Clark. Adidas came in with a jaw-dropping offer that turned the whole industry upside down, putting Nike on the back foot.
So they look like Nike has officially overlooked Caitlyn Clark's signature shoe because Paige is about to drop one.
Now the question is, can Nike fix their mistakes in time, or is it already too late? Let's dig into what went down and why it's such a big deal for sports brands. Nike was struggling to keep up with the hype around Caitlyn Clark when Adidas came out of nowhere and pulled out all the stops. They didn't just hand her a typical contract, they rolled out a deal that let her call the shots. Adidas wanted more than just her name. They were after her ideas, her creativity, and her personal touch in shaping the partnership. This deal gave her the kind of control over her image that most athletes can only dream of. And to top it off, the money on the table was so generous, it made Nike's 8-year, $28 million offer look like small potatoes. Adidas knew the game had changed. Athletes these days don't just want to cash a paycheck. They want to have their say and be part of the action. They even promised to fast-track her shoe release, putting it miles ahead of Nike's sluggish timeline. This wasn't your standard sponsorship deal. It was more like rolling out the red carpet and asking Caitlyn to help design the show. Here's where things get really puzzling. Nike already had Caitlyn Clark under contract, ready to roll. But instead of riding the wave of her skyrocketing success, they stayed on the sidelines. This is Nike, the giant of sports apparel, and they kept her waiting like a backup player. Their plan? Hold off on releasing her signature shoe until 2026 or even later, despite her rookie season being the stuff of legends. She was breaking records, packing arenas, and her Indiana Fever jerseys were selling out in no time. Fans were all in, but Nike held back, dragging their feet on giving her the spotlight she'd earned. For Clark's supporters, it felt like waiting for a blockbuster ending that just never happened. Nike's reaction to Caitlyn Clark's incredible rookie season was, honestly, a total letdown. Instead of hyping her up and giving her the spotlight she deserved, they pretty much stayed quiet. No big ads, no flashy campaigns, nothing. It felt like they were sitting around waiting to see if her success would fizzle out. But here's the thing, her buzz was already massive, and Nike acted like they didn't even notice. Then, when Adidas came in with their bold offer, Nike didn't step up or come back with something better. Nope, they went straight for the courtroom. They figured the best way to handle the situation was to sue Adidas, accusing them of trying to snatch Clark away. So instead of focusing on building her brand and riding the momentum, Nike got caught up in legal battles, letting the opportunity to actually promote their star player slip right by. It's almost laughable when you think about it. Nike, the biggest name in sports, spent more time battling in court than actually promoting Caitlyn Clark. Meanwhile, fans couldn't stop talking about how Adidas was giving her the tools to reach her full potential. Nike, on the other hand, was caught up in legal drama, trying to stop Adidas instead of focusing on building Clark's image. This only added more fuel to the fire. The more desperate Nike looked, the more headlines Adidas stole, making Nike seem like they were dropping the ball on their own star player. Eventually, Nike realized they needed to step it up. Suddenly, Caitlyn was everywhere, new promos, extra bonuses, and even her shoe release timeline got bumped up. But here's the thing, it all felt like a rushed, last-minute attempt to save face. What should have been done ages ago now came off as a scramble to fix their earlier mistakes. Fans noticed the change, but couldn't help wondering if it was all too little, too late. Nike was clearly trying to play catch-up, but the damage might already have been done. Nike suddenly tried to go all out for Caitlyn Clark, pushing hard to show they valued her. But the way they rushed into it felt unnatural, almost like they were scrambling to fix what they'd messed up earlier. It was clear they were in panic mode, especially when comparisons started popping up. Clark's $28 million deal over 8 years sounded decent until people stacked it against Victor Wembanyama's $100 million contract. That's when it started to feel like Clark wasn't being taken seriously, even though she's been a game changer for women's basketball. Adidas stepping into the picture only made things worse for Nike. Fans and critics alike began questioning if brands like Nike were really ready to invest in women's sports the way they do for men's. The problem wasn't just the money, it was the message. Clark's smaller deal made it obvious that despite her incredible talent and massive fan following, Nike still seemed hesitant to go all in on her. It was a big reality check about how far the sports industry still has to go when it comes to properly valuing female athletes. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just another rookie. She was on fire. Her first season was unreal, putting up crazy stats like 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. But it wasn't just the numbers that had people talking. Every game she played felt like a sold-out concert. Fans packed the arenas, and her Indiana Fever jerseys were flying off the shelves like they couldn't keep up. Clark wasn't just playing basketball, she was turning heads, building hype, and pulling more eyes onto women's sports than anyone had seen in years. And Nike, they had a front row seat to all of it. You'd think they'd go all in and make her the face of women's basketball, right? Nope. They just sat back and let the moment pass. Instead of backing Clark, they decided to focus on A'ja Wilson, a WNBA MVP, and gave her signature shoe top priority. Now, don't get me wrong, A'ja is amazing and absolutely deserves her own line. But the timing, way off. By pushing Clark to the back burner, Nike ended up delaying her shoe release just as her popularity was blowing up. Fans were left scratching their heads. They were ready to support Clark's brand, but Nike kept them waiting. It felt like such a missed chance. Here was this rising star with all the momentum in the world, and Nike just didn't act fast enough to make her the movement leader she was becoming. Adidas didn't waste a second when they saw Nike dragging their feet. They jumped in, and just like that, the whole situation blew up online. Fans and sports analysts tore into Nike for dropping the ball on Caitlyn Clark, calling out how little effort they put into promoting her. Social media was on fire. People couldn't stop asking if Nike even knew what they had in Clark. And then, as if things couldn't get worse, icons like Billie Jean King joined the conversation, praising Clark's potential and pointing out what Nike was missing. It was a full-on PR meltdown, and Nike was stuck in the middle, scrambling to contain the damage. This wasn't just about one player or one bad deal. It became clear that the rules of the game had changed. Athletes aren't just looking for fat checks anymore. They want a seat at the table. They want to shape their own brands, not just be the face of someone else's. Clark's situation highlighted how out of touch Nike's old school, we call the shots approach really was. On the flip side, Adidas was playing the modern game, showing they understood what today's athletes want: real collaboration and control. Clark's story turned into a roadmap for the next generation of athletes. It's a reminder that they don't have to settle for just being a name on a contract. They can push for deals that let them define who they are and what they stand for. Younger players and their agents are now taking notes, learning what works and what doesn't when dealing with these massive brands. Meanwhile, Nike was in full panic mode. They started rushing out campaigns, moving up Clark's shoe release, and doing whatever they could to get people excited again. But let's be honest, it all felt forced, like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Fans could see through it, and a lot of them were left wondering if it was already too late to fix things. Trust isn't something you can rebuild overnight, especially when you've clearly underestimated your own star. This was a huge wake-up call for Nike. For a company that built its legacy on backing legends like Michael Jordan, they came dangerously close to blowing it with Clark. And you better believe competitors like Adidas are paying attention. They've already shown they're willing to adapt to what athletes want today. If Nike doesn't change their ways, they might keep losing stars to brands that actually get it.